Ryan Poles has admitted what we've been thinking all along. And talking to some Chicago Bears fans, I've been saying it. The reason you get a Darnell Wright and even trade back a spot, letting the Eagles move up to 9 to get Jalen Carter, it's all about the culture. And he's came out and said it, Ryan Poles, basically stating that in Philadelphia, their culture is cemented. They have a lot of veterans. You got a guy like Fletch. You got Hassan Reddick. Those guys in that Jalen Hurts, knowing the leadership of a Philadelphia team, a team that's been there and that's won recently at that, Jason Kelce. So basically what we want to do in Chicago, we're trying to rebuild the entire culture. We brought in a lot of guys on defense, brought in a lot of guys on offense, and it's trying to reestablish everything. We want a whole new mindset. We want a winning mindset, understanding that the past few years in Chicago, that's not the norm. That's not what we want to build, and that's not what we're going to build. So we're not going for that. And I wouldn't say that Jalen Carter is going to be a problem in the NFL per se, but you just want a guy you don't have to worry at all. Because when you weigh the talent to the problem percentage, there is still a gap where Jalen Carter could go the wrong way. But when we talk about Darnell Wright, we don't have any questions about him, and that lets Ryan Poles sleep at night, and we still can add some defensive players, which we're going to get into later in the video. But I just think the Philadelphia Eagles were the best fit for Jalen Carter as far as the culture and everything they have established. Now, what we want to do, and it's kind of interesting because a lot of people didn't know Darnell Wright coming into the draft process, but if you were really getting into it, really heavily studying these draft prospects, Darnell Wright, he was kind of one of the later risers, rised over Anton Harrison, even rised over Broderick Jones. Now, Broderick Jones was the interesting pick, but I think the decision between Broderick and Darnell Wright is the fact that you want to bring in Darnell and he's plug and play at that right tackle position. Now, he played a little bit of left at Tennessee before, but I think him at right tackle, Braxton Jones, talking about Cody Whitehair and Tevin Jenkins, we got to see what is our best five. And I think that's overall the mindset. Didn't get a center in this draft. Some people want to see that too. But I think we're feeling really good. Now, as we head into training camp, we want to see how the offensive line looks. We want to see what is our best five. Where do these guys fit best? But I think Darnell Wright was a very, very good pick. And I like Tyreek Stevenson, all of those guys. So when thinking about that, and you still got a Gervon Dexter, you still got a Zach Pickens, very talented guys who I think haven't played their best football yet. We talk about guys coming out of high school, having that recruiting pedigree. That does mean a lot. Now, when you go to college and you don't put it all together, there could be some cause for concern. But I think Gervon Dexter, especially watching his combine, watching his size profile, he has to, with some good defensive line coaching, he has to be a good player in the NFL. It's just everything's there on the table for him. And the same thing with Zach Pickens. You don't put that size and that frame into a human body with the ability to move like they can and not be successful. So I think really the defensive line coach has a lot to work with. You brought in DeMarcus Walker. You still got Travis Gibson. And we're going to get into this depth chart here soon. But I feel really good about what they were able to do without getting a Jalen Carter. Ryan Poles still did a splendid job. And I don't know how every Chicago Bears fan feels about the draft, but I do think you have to feel pretty good because you knocked out some needs. Now, if you would have, hypothetically, if we would have got Jalen Carter, where's our tackle? You know, we talk about guys like Blake Freeland, maybe Matthew Bergeron, guys who Matthew Bergeron is probably going to play guard for the Atlanta Falcons. There, Anton Harrison, he went. So we couldn't get hands on these type of guys, and that was going to leave us in a tough position. Now, we could have kept Tevin Jenkins at tackle, and that wouldn't have been the worst idea in the world, but I think Darnell Wright gives you that 10-year guy. He's a nasty guy. He's a guy with a mindset, a guy who's going to be a leader in that room, and I think he's one of the guys who's not going to lead by just saying a bunch of words. I think he's going to come in, play blue-nose football, and it's just going to guys are going to gravitate to what Darnell Wright is doing on the football field. Now I want to head into this depth chart because Ryan Poles also says some interesting things about future pass rushing options. And it's not over yet. He said, as we get into this down part of the offseason, you're always looking. You're always searching for defensive line guys and just good players in general. But knowing that edge is particularly a need, and we got Travis, we got DeMarcus Walker. Now, DeMarcus Walker is interesting because I saw him play a lot of 3-tech for the Tennessee Titans. And in this 4-3 scheme, will he be that true edge rusher? Now, I think as far as stopping the run, he can do that. But you want a guy, we're going to look at these free agent options. I think there's some guys better fit for pass rushing. Now, when we get into these, packages and these specific passing downs, DeMarcus Walker can still kick inside. Still want to see what Gervon and Zach do. Andrew Billings, Justin Jones, Dominique Robbins, Rasheem Green. Now, that's not a terrible defensive line, but by no means is it where we want to be. We want to be with the best of the best, and that's by adding guys, adding talent, making guys compete so those younger guys can get even better. Now, some very interesting free agents we have on the market. Frank Clark, Mr. Playoff. And I wouldn't say he's a bad player. I think the reason for KC getting rid of Frank Clark, it was about the contract. You're talented, but you're not as talented as this money, as this contract that we're giving you would permit. So we got to get off you, get some more room under that. And then they brought in a Felix Anudike-Uzomah. So he's on the market. That's a very nice guy. Can play in a 4-3 system because we saw some of that in some of those packages for Kansas City. Now, interesting enough, Robert Quinn didn't do much for Philadelphia last year, but that was a very stacked defensive line. And I think when I watched some film on Philadelphia, I saw him flash just a little bit. Don't know, is he really that player at this point? But we could kind of add in that rotation. I do like Travis, and I said I do like DeMarcus Walker. So he could be that pass rush guy off the end. Just really electric, even at the age of 32. Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I think him and Jadeveon Clowney are the two best edge rushers left in this thing. And you want to be in the market to get one of those guys. Yannick Ngakoue, just production on top of production. Now, he's not the biggest body as far as what we're looking for. Now, that's why I think scheme fit Jadeveon Clowney might be one of the best players. I look at him, Frank Clark, as far as production, scheme fit. And those might be some of the best players. Now, we know it's Jadeveon Clowney. The injuries, that's one of his things. But Yannick Ngakoue is still nice. And I think those will be my top targets as far as what I'm looking at. Justin Houston. And there's some guys down here, some more veteran type guys. But as far as production, guys who I think could be an edge 2 and a productive edge 2, there is no edge 1 in free agency at this point, because if you're an edge 1, you're going off of the market. But adding these guys, Travis Gibson, supposed to take that next step and be that guy on the edge for us. Like I said, keep going back to DeMarcus Walker because I think he's so versatile and brings a lot to this team. These are some of the players we could be looking at. And I've heard some Chase Young rumblings, heard some Montez Sweat rumblings, and I want to know what you guys think about that in the comments. But what's the best avenue to add veteran pass rushers and to still add something that makes this defense better going into the next season? Now, to recap everything we've talked about, Darnell Wright over Jalen Carter. It's all about the culture. Ryan Poe is basically stating that the culture is cemented in Philadelphia. We're still working over here, and we're not afraid to say that. We know we have a ways to go, and we're proud. We're embracing that ways to go because we know when we get there, it's going to be all worth it in the end. Justin Fields, the development, being patient, it's going to be all worth it in the end. And then basically getting into this free agent market and reviewing some of these depth chart players. We're looking at it. We feel pretty solid about where we're at right now, but we want to add some more pass rush. That's going to help our corners. That's going to help everybody. Help us get off the football field. And really excited for Tyreek Stevenson, one of the players my eyes are on when we get in the training camp. Kyler Gordon. Kind of up and down season for Kyler Gordon last year, but it's just a lot to be optimistic about. And that's my daily update for what we have with the Chicago Bears right now. Subscribe for more content. We're going to be coming with a lot more content specifically for the Chicago Bears. But it's feeling really good about where we're at right now. Very excited for training camp. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for watching as always. And now, yeah.